All right, welcome. We back. This is gonna be a part two, and we're gonna continue what we did in our last tape when we were digging into the mysteries of An-Nur, or the mysteries of the divine light, and when we were also evaluating the mysteries of eternity, or the eternal ocean. All right. So we're gonna go much deeper into these two concepts because this is very, very important when it comes to the perception of the human being. Now, one thing that is for certain is that there is one truth, but the way we perceive that truth based on what angle we are, based on what circumstance or status we may be in at that present moment, we're going to see it a little bit different. So let's take, for example, let's say that we're in a tall building in downtown New York or downtown Los Angeles or downtown Atlanta. We're in a very, very tall building, a skyscraper. And think about how they have several levels. They may have 20 stories, 30 stories, 40 stories. But let's say that on the street, you may have a person wearing something or doing something. Now, in the building, you're going to have 4 people, but each 4 of those people are going to be at a different level of that building. One person may be on the 20th floor. One person may be on the 12th floor. One person may be on the 8th floor. One person may be on the 30th floor. So when they all perceive what this person is doing on the street, although they're looking at one truth, which is what this person is doing on the street, they're all going to perceive it a little bit different. So they're going to tell the same story, but based on the perception. If the perception isn't fully in alignment with the reality, then their truth is going to be a little bit altered, not because of what they're looking at, but because of the lens they are looking out of. All right. So hopefully that example was a good one. Just imagine yourself being in a building, but you're on a different floor than somebody else. So outside of that building, although you all may be looking at the same thing, you all may perceive it differently. So in order for us to perceive things so they will actually be received as they are, we have to have our perception in alignment, meaning that we have to have that true divine light within. And we have to be actually connected to eternity, all right? Meaning that we have strengthened and putting in the work and actually have done the exercises to actually grow our divine light. Because what God Most High has done is prior to us even coming here, God Most High already put that divine light within our heart. But it was a little flame, okay? Now it is up to us to grow that flame so it can turn into a great big, strong spiritual fire, all right? So God Most High has already did his part. As you read in Genesis, and as you'll also read in the Quran, it talks about when Adam, or when the original indigenous man was created, that God Most High blew breath, or blew spirit, or blew intelligence, or blew divine animation, or blew divine light, or blew divine intention, or blew divine objective within the original human. This is why when Adam was brought in front of all the different animals or all the other creations and creatures of the universe, when he was asked to name them, he already had received that intelligence from God Most High. So he already knew how to name the different animals and the different things within creation. And that is one of the things that's special about the indigenous, or the original humans and the descendants of humans on earth, that we received a certain divine intelligence that other creations and other beings in the universe didn't necessarily receive. Okay. So keep in mind that when it comes to your mind and your thoughts, when you're in your higher self, other creations and other certain spiritual beings, they don't have the ability to read your mind. But we must watch what we say, because a lot of these lower level beings and certain antagonistic forces in the universe, they can hear us. So when we say certain things, they'll be able to run up on you. You know, like just what it may have been about 2 weeks ago, I was having a conversation with a brother, and we were talking about how whenever it is something that whenever you got something good you're working on, it's best to more so keep it in your mind, keep it in your mind during meditation and contemplation, and, keep it to yourself. Because when you start verbalizing and saying stuff, certain spiritual energies and certain spiritual entities can hear that, and they may not have your best interest. All right. So keep that in mind. In the prior tape, we talked about the divine heart being the home, or being the location of the innermost or the higher self, the heart. And we also talked about how the heart is a receiver. The heart receives divine information. It receives divine instructions from the higher self or God Most High. Okay. So keep in mind that that divine light that God is, a small fraction or a small portion of that was put within us. So we have our own personal assistant or our own personal angel within us. So this is why when you read in the Quran or you read in the scriptures, when certain people get into certain jams and situations, and God Most High will send an angel to actually help that person. Okay. So keep in mind that you have a personal guardian angel or a personal spiritual assistant already within you. You have a personal sheikh or a personal imam within you, right? And that actually is your divine teacher. It actually is your divine master. And that divine master is receiving instruction directly from God Most High, okay? So your heart should reflect whatever type of information it's receiving, and your behavior will reflect whatever type of heart you have. So let me repeat that. Your heart is going to be in the status of the type of information and energy it receives. And whatever status your heart is in and whatever energy it vibrates is going to typically dictate the type of characteristics and behavior you exhibit. So if you are receiving a lot of positive, healthy, loving type of energy, then your heart is going to reflect that. And your behavior is going to reflect that. For example, this is why sometimes when, let's say you just got a paycheck, or you just got your stimulus check, or you just came across a big settlement, or in other words, you've received a lot of resources. You feeling real good. You feeling very, very euphoric. The body is feeling good. The adrenaline is pumping. You feeling very, very happy. Your heart is in a very, very high vibrative state. So what do you want to do? You want to go and take some of your friends shopping. You may want to go to the movies and treat everybody to dinner. So you want to share that, But let's say it's a situation where somebody stole some money from you, or somebody harmed you, or somebody did something to you that was a little messed up. You're more than likely going to be vibrating to something a little dark and something a little negative. And what that's going to do is going to probably make you want to express and display that negative archetype that's pretty much currently on you at that moment. So just like you see this Muslim or this Moorish American, indigenous, autochthonous American person right here on the screen looking in the mirror, and you can see this indigenous man looking at his own reflection. So the heart is also like a mirror. It's going to reflect whatever type of energy that the beholder possesses. So your heart is very, very important to keep pure and keep clean, because whatever kind of energy is vibrating, your behavior, it will reflect that. That's a fact. So when you're dealing with a lot of people, if their behavior is corrupt, and even their mindset is corrupt, because but a lot of our thoughts even are inspired by our heart. Okay. So this is why in a lot of the Mizraim mysteries, or the mysteries of Memphis, when the people were being mummified, a lot of the organs were taken out, but if I'm not mistaken, the heart was left in. So the heart would be left in, but all of the other organs were taken out. And the reason why the heart was left in, because it was seen as a necessity to pass on into the next part of your spiritual journey. All right. And also think about in the mysteries of Mizraim, where you see the weighing of the heart ceremony, where you have the human being being led by the divine angel, and at the judgment scene, the person's heart is weighed against a feather. So in the various cultures around the world, you're going to see that the one who has the highest spirituality and the greater spiritual powers is typically going to be the person who has the strongest heart. So that's why the divine hero also has compassion and stuff like that. Think about Superman, for example. He doesn't really want to see the people getting hurt and beat up and stuff like that. So he has a certain compassion, and this is what leads him to want to save the day. So your higher self or your inner self is a Superman or a Superwoman, all right? And we should keep it clean, because that's very, very important, all right? So what I want to do is we're going to go back to our website called nurmuhammad.com. All right, nurmuhammad.com, and we're going to read Secrets of the Eyes, Part 2, Compassion, Mercy. Secrets of the Eyes, Part 2, Compassion and Mercy. So let's go through our reading and let's see what we can get done. We live in a time of deception. They are the sheikhs and they are the gods, and we are not a sheikh and we are not a guide. That they're talking about is that inner light, that divine light, that inner messenger or that inner angel who provides the wisdom. And asking that Allah Most High allows us to enter the oceans of mercy and rahmah. All right. In the Hebrew, mercy is chesed. So for all of us that are familiar with the tree of life, the fourth sphere is called chesed, on the pillar of mercy. All right, chesed. And it is also analogous with the planet Jupiter as well. And this is an attribute that is trying to show you the mercy or the divine compassion of God Most High. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to try to reflect that same compassion, so that's why and it can be hard sometimes. Like, people could do some things that could piss you off, but you really want to respond in the way that the higher self will want you to respond. And it's a thing you got to work on constantly. Even myself, I'm not perfect at it, but it's a thing you work on consistently. So we don't want to be hypocrites and make it seem like we may be fully in the higher self. Maybe we've unlocked certain attributes of the higher self, but we're still working towards that fully. We are in days of difficulty and days of great deceit. That these are a time that we call the days of great mischief, and a great deceit is upon the earth and moving, and no nation is going to be safe. Every nation is filled with that deceit and with that deception, like a tremendous magic show. And what is happening is related to the world of light. Understanding the world of light, the reality of light, opens our heart to move towards that. So as I said before, we're living in the time of the Dajjal system. Dajjal is going to be a real man or a real entity. Okay. So I'm not talking about something that's metaphorical. I'm not talking about something that's even symbolic. As far as where is Dajjal, he's already either on this earth or he's on his way. Okay. So there will be a time where there will be this false world leader who will appear and show himself. Okay. But there have been, for the last thousands and thousands and thousands of years, really millions of years, these demonic entities have been working and preparing and laying out the pathway for the Dajjal system. So the Dajjal system, in particular, the current one that's going on in the Western Hemisphere right now, has been worked on, I would say, since it's been quite a while. But either way it go, it's a real thing. Okay. So the Dajjal system is based on deception and deceit. All right. Think about how social media is out right now. It's no coincidence that social media would be out during the time of the Dajjal system. People are always deceiving others based on who it is they are. They're showing a certain lifestyle that's really not them. They're showing a certain relationship that they have that's really not as pleasant as one may think. So during this time of deception, it's very, very important to have both of your spiritual eyes open, because we can be tricked by certain things. You may have certain women out here and you see other women, they travel in the world. They look like they got a bunch of money. It look like they don't have to work and things may be easy for them. But don't be deceived by that, because there's no telling behind closed doors what that woman really is enslaved to and what type of perverted deals this person has made to obtain the lifestyle that they have. So always stay on your own square and always stay on your own path and stay in your own lane. Never really be too covetous or jealous or envious of something you think somebody else has, because at the end of the day, you don't know how they got it. And anything down here in this material world, you can get as well. So don't get tricked by nothing in this, deception society and time that we're in right now. And also remember, too, it says every nation is filled with that deceit, and no nation will be able to avoid this. OK, now, right now, not right now, but basically, this is for everybody out here, no matter your ethnicity and nationality. But we all know in particular who I'm talking to right now, because what a lot of us don't know is that one of the hadiths is that the sun will rise in the west. So a lot of us are familiar with the sun rising in the east. But when you get into some of the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, one of them is that the sun will rise in the west. And that is actually symbolic for a lot of the different ancient truths being resurrected and reintroduced into the world from a people in the West who will bring back true Hebraic Islamic teachings. And that will provide a light to the world. And we know who those people are. Okay? You're looking at him on the screen, and more than likely you are one of the descendants of this man on the screen. So the so-called black people in the Western Hemisphere are the original people who created the Islamic Hebraic sciences. We are the original people who were the vessels that God Most High used to bring this literature and this information and knowledge and wisdom into the world. We were the ones responsible for creating the literature, creating the universities, and teaching the world this information. So remember, a Mar or a Moorish person is actually a divine guide. All right. So we are the light of the world, believe it or not. The indigenous American people, we are the light of the world. Whether we are in our higher self or our lower self, people are going to follow what we do. It's just for quite some while we've been in our lower self, but the sun will rise from the west again. Please believe that. So let's move forward. Also, too, keep in mind that this deceptive world we living in, it's like a big magic show. You know, the things you see on TV, a lot of the lies that they're telling you, it's like a magic show. So it's going to take a lot of internal trust and wisdom and faith to get through these types of times. All right. Let's continue to read. Light always extinguishes darkness. We were saying before that the greatness of light, or the greatness of Nur, just to understand always by example, is that if we blacken the room as much as we can and make it to be black, if one candle and one light is lit, that light begins to push away darkness. And if 5,000 more darknesses enter into that room, it cannot extinguish that light which Allah Most High is allowing. It means that this is the greatness of light. The light always extinguishes darkness. So keep in mind that the falsehoods or the darkness, the deceptions, the lies, they're always destroyed by the divine light, by the eternal strength of the heart. So when you're illuminating, when you got the glow like Leroy, when your face is radiant and bright like Moses or Yahushua, any kind of falsehood is going to be destroyed immediately. So this is why also in this time of deception, when you come around talking like this, or even if you've just been meditating and contemplating on this type of stuff, and you come around people who not on this vibration, when their heart is still in the lower gross self, they're not going to really want to be around you. You know, I mean, even myself, like, it's like I only deal with a certain small number of people, man. And I keep it that way. So it's like the more I'm vibrating high, you know, I'm still compassionate. I still have an open heart and I still love people. But, you know, I'm just very, very particular about who I allow myself to be around, you know, indefinitely. You know, you just got to be careful with that. So understand that your divine light is very, very strong and you have to protect yourself because there are a lot of other demonic forces out there that see your divine light and they fear you. And they know whenever you come around, they're going to be destroyed. This is also why in a lot of the mythological Moorish tales of the vampire, why our ancestor would write that when the vampire was hit by light, it would die or it would disintegrate. And why the vampire always would sleep during the day and how it couldn't take light. All right. So understand that some of these different, you know, evil beings out here, these are beings of darkness, beings of ignorance, beings of deceit, and they're destroyed by light and destroyed by truth. So also understand this, believe it or not, when you're having a conversation with somebody and everything you're saying is the truth, you literally are a bright, radiant, your aura at that moment probably is a bright, violet, and white color, just from you sitting there telling the truth. So understand that when somebody's eyes are open, both eyes, they can see something that you can't necessarily see. All right. So just keep that in mind. You know what I'm saying? Keep that in mind. And also it says that, and if 5,000 more darknesses entered into that room, it cannot extinguish that light which Allah is allowing. So even a small candle can't be extinguished by 5,000 forces of darkness, 10,000 forces of darkness, a million forces of darkness can't even destroy and put out a match. All right. So understand, when you look at that nighttime sky, although it's majority black, those specks of light and those sparkles of light, they still shine and they still illuminate and light up the sky. All right. So understand that that divine internal light within you, you are the light of the world, or the light of the room, the light of the environment, the light of your family, the light of your circumstance, the light of your office, wherever you are, you're going to be the divine light always. And don't you never turn it off for nobody. You know what I'm saying? The way you keep your divine light on at all time is you remain in your true self. You know, you remain in your true self. So it says, quote, and say, truth has come and falsehood has perished. Indeed, falsehood by its nature is ever perishing / bound to perish, end quote, from the Night Mirage Journey 17-81. So understand that falsehood, or things in dunya, or the material universe, or deceptions or lies or even ignorance, they're always on the brink of extinction, on the brink of perishing, because they're not real. So a falsehood could be going on for a very long time, but keep in mind that it's closer to ending than it is to continuing. But what the enemy or the adversary will do is try its best to convince you that a falsehood is eternal. And that's one of the things that the Dajjal system is doing. It wants you to think that, nah, man, continue to just live your life here. You don't really know what's going to happen in the afterlife. Why not just run a sack up? Why not just run a checkup? Why not just get the OnlyFans and get all the money and just travel the world? The world about to end anyway. It's about to be the apocalypse anyway. Why not just do whatever you want to do and just, it's about to end anyway? That's a Dajjalic, satanic type of thought process, you know? So just because it may be a time of apocalypse and, you know, it's some things that are changing, that doesn't mean that it's the end. It just may be the end of the things that are changing. But as far as you and what God has intended for you, that is not ending at all. Okay? So don't go do no thing like giving up all your money and selling all your goods and following the cult and eating the applesauce and drinking the Kool-Aid, and just because you think the world is about to end. All right? That's also part of the deception. So it says, Allah Most High describes, it obliterates obliterates darkness, but all we need is light. That's why a true knowledgeable one is as if 1,000 men, it says, that's why a true knowledgeable one is as if 1,000 men. So it says one true knowledgeable man that has the divine light and is connected to eternity is equal to 1,000 men. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So it says that, going into these deceivers, it says, because they know that as much as they want the room to be as dark so that they can do their magic. So once again, a deceiver or a liar is somebody who likes to keep things in darkness. They don't like to really give you all the information. They always leave you wondering. They don't really always give you the truth. That's because they got a lot of things that they're doing up their sleeve. They got some up their sleeve, okay? That's why you see a lot of the masonry. And I'm going to give you another thing. Now, I don't really know this guy's music. I ain't never really listened to him like that. But I know whenever I see his pictures, he's always putting his hands over his mouth. And that's the rapper from New York named Bobby Shmurda. He's always got his hands over his mouth. In every picture he does. You know, next time you get a chance, just Google Bobby Shmurda, and I guarantee you're going to see in the images a picture of him with his hand over his mouth. Now, sometimes you see them with the hand over their mouth, or they'll have their finger over their mouth doing the shh. And a lot of that is a Freemasonic sign of them showing that I am going to be allegiant. I'm going to be in allegiance to the Dajjalic systems. I'm going to keep the Freemasonic Boule secrets. I'm going to keep the secrets, and I'm not going to tell them, so I can stay in this material world and continue to live the way I want. Now, I don't know if that's what Bobby Shmurda means when he does that. I'm not saying he's a Freemason or any of that. But I've seen Bobby Shmurda do it, and I've seen it also in a lot of Freemasonic pictures. So that is one of those things where, you know, a person is an agent of darkness. They don't want to tell you the truth. They're not going to get on here and make a tape like Blackbeard would. You know, they're going to talk about something that's false, and then they're talking about the truth behind closed doors with people that's in league with them. So you got to watch out the deceivers out here and look for their symbols and their signs, because they show them to you. So you see somebody doing the shh sign, putting the finger over their mouth, or they put their hand over their mouth, this more than likely is an agent of darkness. This more than likely is a person who likes to keep others in ignorance. All right. And also the one-eyed symbolism as well. So how you have the CBS logo on the production television network, that one eye is the Dajjalic eye. The one eye symbolizes that I have no divine light, nor do I have any access to eternity. So really, I'm representing a black hole. I absorb and destroy and try to take away light. I suck light out of people and leave them in ignorance and darkness. That's really what the one eye symbolism is. It don't even really have anything to do with a pyramid. The pyramid is just something that they threw into it. And more than likely that pyramid, at least the way that the enemies use it, the pyramid represents the Tower of Babel, or a collective of evil men working together to do harm to the greater humanity, because that's what the symbol of the Tower of Babel was. Okay. So when you see them using the pyramid with the one eye, that's symbolizing Babylonian satanic thought process, the Dajjalic system. Okay. Just keep that in mind. Okay. All right, let's see. It said, just the understanding of what's happening with the eyes, because the eyes are the windows of the soul. The ears are the door for the soul. It means the window of the soul and the reality of the soul must be in the secret of the eyes. The right eye is Sifat ar-Rahman. When you say Bismillah here, Rahman near Ramin, in the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, the right eye is from the reality of ar-Rahman. The left eye is from the reality of ar-Rahmin, the most merciful. It means in dunya, or the material world, Sifat ar-Rahman, attribute of the most compassionate. We have said in other teachers of Maulana Sheikh's teachings that Hay is the ocean of Hayat, or ever living. So what this is talking about right here is we're going into how I was telling you that the right eye and the left eye, they symbolize something. All right. So it says right here that the right eye is from the reality of ar-Rahma, or the most merciful. And it says the left eye is from the reality of ar-Rahmin, most merciful. Excuse me. Hold on. Let me reread this. My bad. It says that the right eye is Sifat ar-Rahman. Excuse me. And that is in the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. So the most compassionate and the most merciful, these are the attributes also associated with the eyes. Okay. Sorry for kind of tripping up on that. So remember, the eyes are very, very important. It says, so it means that the right eye that Allah is dressing the believers, dressing the reality in what he wants for all creation. He wants his attributes to be dressed upon your right eye, upon our right eye. He wants to dress it from Nur ar-Rahman. So with the right eye, you look with a Nur. The Nur, or the light, extinguishes darkness. That Nur enlightens because it is able to see the reality of everything that it looks at. So imagine when you look at something, imagine this divine, powerful light coming out of your eyes. Okay? Imagine this divine, powerful light coming out of your eyes. This is also why in the DC comics that Superman and Darkseid had a certain power that they could release from their eyes. Okay. Now the power that they were released from their eyes was, of course, to destroy, but also there is a certain divinity and divine light for perception as well. Okay. So keep in mind that the eyes have a certain divine light that'll come out. And as it says right here, that the Nur enlightens because it is able to see every reality that it looks at. And also remember that things are multidimensional. So when it says every reality, it means that every perception, every dimension. So if let's go back to our example of being in this tall building and looking outside. So you understand that there is one truth, but there could be multiple perceptions of the one truth. So when we dealing with each other, that's why we shouldn't get into these arguments, because there may be one truth and we all may be perceiving it a different way. But if it's all aligning with that one truth, then really we're all in agreement, basically. All right. I don't want to confuse it. OK. Also, as I said, the dunya is the material world. So the divine light that has the compassion and the merciful powers and attributes of God Most High in it, it can see through the material world. It don't get caught up in the deception. It don't get caught up in the delusions. It's not going to do the Esau thing. Remember in the last tape, I talked about how Esau was deceived and tricked by his own self, by Shaitan, and he gave up his birthright because he didn't believe in the afterlife. Okay? He didn't believe in the afterlife. All right? Let's see if it's something else that we want to get to. Just keep in mind that the Nur is in the right eye. The Hayat is the left eye. So we're talking about the merciful and compassionate attributes of the eye, the divine light, and the ocean of eternity. Because we want to be connected to eternity. See, right now we still are physical humans, but we want to strengthen ourselves spiritually here. So when we pass on, we can enter into eternity. Okay? And you need the divine light to do so. All right, let's read this last part. Allah describes and says, quote, if you are eating with them in dunya or the material world, praying with them in dunya, traveling and accompanying them in dunya, what type of goodness I have? What type of goodness I have in store for you in the afterlife? If this is your dunya, imagine where you are eating in the afterlife, because everything is a reflection. But if I am accompanying crazy people in the material world and say, no, my afterlife will be good, how is that possible? So we're going to end it with understanding like this brother right here, this indigenous man of earth, how he's looking in the mirror and he's seeing a reflection of himself. And they also have a quote that birds of the same feather flock together. So the people you eat with, the people you hang out with, the people you converse with, they are going to be a reflection of who you are. They're going to be a reflection of your vibration. They're going to be a reflection of whatever spiritual energy and spiritual status that you are at. So as it says right here, Allah describes, if you are eating with them in the material world, you're praying with them in the material world, you're traveling with them in the material world, what type of goodness I have in store for you? And it says that because everything is a reflection, whoever you accompany in the material world, you also will be accompanying them in the afterlife. So whatever type of entities and humans and spiritual beings you find yourself associating with in this material world, those will be the same types you associate with in the afterlife as well. So hopefully this tape, and the previous one is able to provide some type of guidance for you to get instructions from your own inner self, because the divine wisdom and truth and instruction that you actually are seeking is within you. So just trust that and just continue to strengthen your faith, and live a life of being calm and, and just enjoy your life and just know that, it's bigger and better things to come. So when you have certain material things that work out for you, cool, but don't be attached to them. You receive it, you use it for what it's worth, and when it's over, you discard it and you move forward. Whether that be a certain item you got, you may have got a new car you like, but eventually the car may get old and then you let it go. A new pair of shoes you like, eventually they'll get old and you throw them out. And even certain relationships and associations you may have had. You may be a man or a woman and you met somebody, they were cool, but for some reason it seemed like the energy just kind of faded out and you all separated. That's because everything in this material world is temporal or temporary. But what is eternal is that divine light, you getting access to the higher self and you bringing your individuality back in concert with the oneness of that eternal ocean. So as I gave an example in the prior tape, if you have a cup of water that came from a great ocean, that great ocean is the home of that water. And it is where that water's identity come from. So that cup of water really is not an individual. It comes from a greater whole. So we have to actually remember that and destroy that individual ego that thinks that